In the previous video I was showing you how to configure an access control list in Cisco's packet tracer, and I realized that I hadn't um, verified that my configuration actually worked with no access control list in place. So let's go back and do that, and refer to these notes again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and take out the access control list, test it, and then put it back in. And this is as far as taking out the access control list here with this particular command that I've got highlighted here. I'm going to go on and copy that while I got it highlighted. This would be what you would do typically when you want to change the access control list. You first take it out, you modify it, and then you paste it back in some order. I might what I would do typically would be to do a either I would have a copy of the previous access list uh, with the full commands in it, like this, or if I didn't already have this, you could always do a show access control list command like you have down here, and then highlight this, um, copy and paste it into a word processor, and put this in front. Well, I'm using the number 101. You could have other numbers. There is a numbering convention uh, for access control lists on a Cisco router. Um, but anyway, that would give me a starting point. Um, so let's go back over to the router, and this is where you're going to see it most of the time. I'm going to press enter and go into the router. I want to type EN. That takes me to enable mode. And in the real world, this is password protected. You don't want just anybody getting into your router and reconfiguring it. So now this is the enable mode, and if you look back to my notes over here, to run this command we need to be in config mode. So I'm going to go back over here and type configure terminal. This is the shorthand version. And at this point I can paste in the command I copied from my notes, and then when I copied it I managed to get a line feed, so I didn't have to press enter this time. So I'm going to press or type in exit, and I hit an extra enter there just to get me down past this message right here. Now if I do a show ACC, it doesn't show me anything because I removed that access control list. So let me show you how we can test this. And in the previous video I mentioned the fact that to test this we're going to learn something about packet tracer itself. And I apologize for this, but whenever you're testing anything, you're going to have to learn about the testing setup itself, as well as the configuration of the thing you're trying to test. And you've got to be able to think it through and realize what's different about a test setup and a real-world setup. Of course, ideally, you also test your real-world configuration. But there's just more things you have to keep up with. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the simulation mode. And you get to that over here. You click this icon here. And I'm just learning how to use this. We'll see how this works. I'm clicking on the PC here at 27.54.72.96, and I just picked this number, not quite at random, but this is I'm pretty sure there's a device on the internet that's actually using this. I'm going to go to my desktop here, and first thing we do is try the web browser, and all I have to do here is remember the IP number, and I've actually got this written down. I need the IP number of that server. It's http:// 202.70.1112.10, and press enter. Now I'm thinking to get, since we're in simulate mode here, we actually need to step this through. So you'll see here in this window here an event list, and over here you can see a packet. Now this is the process it's going to go through. So I'm going to come down here to capture and forward. I'm going to step this through. So it looks like it just did an ARP. And I got a feeling it did that because my PC needs the MAC address of the router, because the destination of the packet is on another network. Now I'm going to move this over a little bit here. So the actual TCP packet we've moved on to from the internet router to the company border router. This is one I've been configuring. And if you're curious what's in here now, you can click on it. This happens to be an ARP request, I think. Let's go again and see if we can find a more interesting packet. So that's the reply to the ARP request, because I'm using just IP between these routers. So if you want to look at what's in this package, you can click right here in this colored. The SDP, this is the spanning tree protocol. This is your switches talking to each other. You can safely ignore those. If you're interested in what's in this TCP packet, I'm going to click on it. And this is, sometimes it's kind of hard to figure out where you're at device. Okay. Layer 4, we've got TCP source port 1025 and destination port 80. So this is being sent to the web server. Here's your IP header information. This is the machine it's coming from. This is where it's going. And that's your Ethernet MAC address information. And of course that's just layer 1 information there. We'll return to this type of analysis here in a moment. I can also do it up here. Looks like here comes the real packet. And it's a little bit confusing sometimes what you're looking at here. Now, here's the packet that's made it to the switch on the destination network. Let me move this over here. So now it's reached the destination, and I just clicked on the little packet there. Um, we can kind of analyze this now. And here's the headers. This is an ARP request, so we're not quite there yet um, with the real packet. Let's go one more. I think this is the packet we're interested in, yes. And I don't want to get too bogged down in the details here of what this simulation mode is really doing. For one reason, I haven't played with it that much myself. But here's the headers and the packet that's coming in. And again, this is destination port 80, and it's coming from the PC on the other where I originated this. And notice this is what's going to be sent back out. Notice that the source port, the source TCP port, and the destination TCP ports, they have reversed places. We've got the IP addresses are reversed now. I'm going to look at the outbound PDU. This is a TCP packet, so this view here shows you all the header information. So there's your frame header. Here's your IP header. If you scroll on down, you get the TCP header, and you'll see this, since this is the packet coming back from the web server to the PC that initiated this. This is actually the SYNAC packet, the second packet of the three-way handshake. So this is interesting to be able to look at the headers from time to time. So the point is, the web page request made it all the way to this machine right here, which is one we're going to use this router to filter the traffic to this machine using an ACL. So without the ACL, it made it. It got there. Now I'm going to switch back to here. This is what they call real-time mode. Let me move this back over. So I was in simulation mode there. Now back over here, when I switched to real-time mode, it went on and sent this packet. Well, it initiated this transaction from this little application referred to as the web browser that's running on this PC. So this is what actually came back from the server. You click on one of these and see there's a little hello world. I'm not sure what the image is. Oh, apparently I don't have anything configured. But anyway, this means it's working. Now we go down to this PC down here and open it up. Now I've got it configured to use IP number 6810.50. I'm going to do the same thing here. I wonder if I have to type in HTTP. Let's try it without it. We're good. So this just proves with without an ACL, I can get to the web server running on 202.70.112.10 from either this PC or this PC here, which is on a different network. By the way, I think this IP number here is probably somewhere in China. I did this a little while ago, but I think that's what I determined. So now let's go back in and put our ACL back in. So here we are, and we need to be in configure terminal mode, I believe. Let's go back to my notes here. To put the access control list back in, at the configure prompt, I just type in these commands. Now, again, you can do it from the command line. It's probably not your best plan, however. I have another notepad text editor open, window open here, and shoot, hit the wrong thing. Wiped out my configuration. That's alright, we'll do this the hard way. Show you how you'd have to do it. When I'm recording like this, there's a little lag between my moving the mouse and where it thinks it is. So sometimes when I click on something, I'm actually getting something else. It's rather annoying. But here's what we can do. I'll go back out to enable the enable mode prompt. I'm going to do a show ACC. Of course, there's nothing in there, is there? That's alright. Let's go back over here. We can figure this out. Here's what I'm going to do. I saved this one earlier. Just copied and pasted it out of the router to put in these notes. I can copy this, and I can't copy it directly into the router because it's got the prompts in it. So I'm going to paste it in right here. Now, all I have to do now is just take out the prompts. I don't need those. So that's all I'm going to do, is going to go in here and take out the prompts. Not too far. And if you want to, you can actually put the exit in here. And now I can copy all of this. And hopefully I'll hit the right thing this time. Copy. Now go back over to your border router. Now you need to be in the right place here. I'm in enable mode, and that's not the right place, so I got to do a config T. And now I should be able to paste this in. And press enter. Type exit again. Well, sometimes you wind up too many exits out. And that's right, I think, because I had the exit in the what I pasted in. Notice here, if I go back into enable mode and do a show ACC, which is again short for show access control list, or access list, this is what I just pasted in, so we should be good there. Now let's go back over here to our PCs, and I'm going to do this in real-time mode first, and press go, and our web page is still there. Let's go down here to this PC and type go and see what happens. I'm going to close that and put it back in. And it's still working. let me go check something here on my configuration. I need to make sure I actually assign this to an interface. And the instructions on that are right here. So I need to go into the interface, Ethernet 1/0, and put this in. Go on, copy it from here. Again, this is a little bit easier if you're not recording it at the same time. The recording steals processor cycles, which makes everything sluggish. So I need to be in configure terminal mode, and then I need to go into the interface ETH1/0, and now I can type or paste in this command. Press enter. And I would suspect there's probably a command to show you. Of course, you got to spell exit right. Did it again. If you're curious what commands are available, you can do a show and a question mark, and it will give you the next commands here. So the one I've been using is show ACC, which is short for access list. This lists any access lists that are available. If you press the enter key, you get one line at a time. If you press the space key, you get a whole page. And you can also back up here. Show interfaces is an interesting command too. Let's do that. Show int. Alright, that's Ethernet, fast Ethernet 00. That's the one that connects to the internet router. And this is the other fast Ethernet. It's down, it's not configured. Alright, this is Ethernet 1/0. It's up. I was curious if it would show me if it had an access control list on it. Apparently not. I can't recall right off the top of my head where you'd find that out at. I guess we can go try it. Let's go back and try it again. And I'm interested in this interface down here. Let's close it, open up again. Now, so that time it failed. Yep, request timed out. So previously I hadn't made sure to bind my access control list to the interface and direction that I wanted to. So I can't get there from the Chinese PC. Let's go back and try it from here. Just to be sure, I'll close that and start over. So I can still get there from here. And the reason is, let's go back and look at what we pasted in for our ACL. If you recall, this was it. The first line here, access list 101, permit TCP, again, anything from the 27.54.72.0 network. And the reason it's any computer on that network is because my wildcard is 0.0.0.255. So this is the source part. The destination part starts here with host. If you use the word host, that means a particular computer, and then you specify the IP number of that particular device. And equal www, I'm pretty sure you could have put 80 there just as well. That says we want to allow any TCP traffic from this network to this host as long as it's destined for port 80, or the World Wide Web service. That's what allowed this PC here to get through. Now I've also added a different entry here. Same thing, TCP. This time it's going to port 53. By the way, I need to change that. I will here in a moment. And look at the third line here. This says, other than the two rules above, if you get to this point, deny any sort of TCP traffic. Deny TCP traffic from anywhere to any machine on the destination network that's equal to port 80. Now, there's actually another command here that you don't see. There's an implicit deny all. I think it looks like that. Deny any. So you have to make sure that somewhere up above there's a rule that at least some traffic will match. Otherwise, nothing's going to get through either in or out of that interface, depending on how you have it, this ACL configured. Now, let me go back briefly and tell you what I noticed here, and I fixed this earlier. My second rule here, I was going to put in a rule that would allow access to DNS, which is typically port 53. Most queries happen on UDP. So this properly should be UDP. Of course, sometimes for some ports you'd need to put both the TCP port and the UDP port. Both the TCP port and the UDP port. Depends on the port. Now, let me point out again something here. If I had this rule first, I couldn't get, if I had this rule before this rule, I couldn't get in from the 27.54.72.96 machine, because the way it works on Cisco, the first rule that matches, that's what's executed. So if you had the deny TCP any equal from www, if you had that first, no web traffic would get through. So you have to spend some time thinking about the order of the rules. There are considerations in the order based on how you want the filtering to occur, and there's also some considerations about what would speed things up. For example, if you've got three rules that you know are going to match a lot of the traffic that you want to allow through, I would put, of course, you're going to have to put those before the list that would block similar traffic or traffic from other, maybe in this case we're trying to block the Chinese here. But if you had a number of rules that you know are going to be matched often, you'd want to look at that and say, well, okay, this particular rule here is matched more than um, these other rules. I'll put it first. So if you have a rule that's matched half the time versus one that's matched 10% of the time, you want to put the one that's matched half the time first. Therefore, it'll speed things up because there's no sense checking the 10% rule until after you check the one that's going to be going to match 50% of the time. That's just something to think about that will speed up your router processing. So let's see. Let's review what we've done here. There's two modes in Packet Tracer, and if you want to use real-time mode, you can for certain things. The simulator has a built-in web browser. It also has a packet generator, which is a traffic generator. I'm still playing around with it. It seems to work best with the simulation mode. I wish it had a built-in sniffer. Well, it kind of does, but you have to be in simulation mode to use it. And well, let me just show you here. I'm going to go on and open up the traffic generator here, and I'm going to say I want to do let's do DNS. You have to give it a destination address, and by the way, always pick your application type before you type in your address, because if you don't, it will wipe it out and you'll have to put it in yourself. You have to put it in again, rather. So 202.70.112.10. Now, if you don't put anything in for the source address, it will use that, which for our purposes is usually okay. You can give it a starting source port here, and this is kind of handy so you can make sure that you're looking at the packet that you generated. And I'm going to go with single shot here. I'm going to minimize this. Now let's go over to simulation mode. Okay, here's our packet. So click on send. Minimize this. Now let's capture, well, let's go forward here. So here is our UDP packet. It's made it to the switch. Made it to the internet, internet router. It's being forwarded on to the border router. Now notice what happened here. We've got a big red packet here. I'm going to open that up. So this is our packet. It's or is it? Oh, this is the router itself. What's happened here, if you look in your notes here, the device sends back an ICOMP administratively prohibited unreachable message. What's happened here, according to our ACL, this packet shouldn't be allowed through. And the reason is, I'll show you here, This is the packet that's being sent back by the router, and it's an ICOMP packet, but this is one of those ICOMP packets that the data in the packet gives you information about the packet that triggered this message. So inside the ICOMP, you've got a type 3 code D. That's your administratively unreachable. Um, but your data here, this is the IP header of the packet that triggered this. Notice it came from the PC I was using over on the left, and this is the destination. And the actual type of packet it was UDP packet. So there's my source port, my destination port, etc. And the reason this failed, if you recall, is my ACL here, my original ACL allowed TCP traffic, see right here, TCP traffic to port 53, but not UDP traffic. So that's what it looks like when your ACL actually blocks something. Now, in the real world, you'd want to go in and we might do this later. Tell your router just to drop the packet. Don't send back this administratively prohibited packet, because this is telling somebody on the outside something about how your ACL is configured. So you don't want to give out any kind of information, but I wanted to show you what it looked like. So that was an example of we might have thought we were allowing DNS traffic in, but since we specified TCP instead of UDP, that traffic actually wasn't going through. It's not going to be allowed through. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So in a lot of cases, I think you'll find the simulation mode is going to be handy to test what's really going on. A quick and dirty check in real-time mode is, you can check the web using the web browser. Again, I don't have a whole lot of experience using Packet Tracer yet to see what all you can do here. I'm not sure if this is how this is going to work. This might actually, if it's well, that's just serial. That's not going to help us. This would be such that you could connect to a router or a switch and configure it. Yeah, the quick and dirty stuff, if your ACL concerns web traffic, you can do this one. Otherwise, you can generate traffic and see if it gets through. If it gets through, you'll actually see the little letter packet indicator make it all the way over to your destination, and you can look and see what that computer is going to send back. So that's by the way, when you're finished with one little particular test here, if you click on delete, it'll wipe everything out and lets you start over. And I'm going to switch back to real-time mode. If you're going to show me the results of something, you can type, go into enable mode and do a show ACC, and again you can just copy this right here, and you either right click and hit copy, or you can hit copy right there. Notice when you do a show ACC, it gives you some information about the number of matches. How many, in this case, this is showing you how many blocks you have and how many packets went through since it was assigned. So that's kind of handy. So if I ask you to configure an access control list and then send me your list, you'd copy that. Um, and since you're inside the lab, you can open up any web-based email. Use Gmail, or uh, you can actually use the KCTCS webmail. Um, Paste it in, send it to me. You can also put it in a notepad, save that, send me the attachment. Um, Whatever you send me, you should also send yourself. Make sure that it doesn't get lost somewhere. So we're going to play around with Packet Tracer here and do a few little configuration tests and see how all this works.